Yes, all right. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name, as always, Emmanuel Yarohanga. So today we are going to start where we ended from. Yeah. So as yesterday we stopped at duties of a citizen. It was chapter 3, citizenship. We looked at the citizens of Uganda, citizens by birth, by adoption, by registration, by naturalization, loss of citizens. So today we shall begin on it was chapter 3 of the Constitution of Uganda. So today we shall begin at prohibition of dual citizenship. So that's where we ended, and that's where we are going to begin from. Okay, so thank you for watching, thank you for listening. Those who have not yet subscribed, subscribe, like, share, comment, give me more vibe. Let's try to read together. Okay, we start it was chapter 3 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, as in 1995 amended under the NRA 7. Like, as we know, constitutions have been changing 5 times now. The one that was there after independence, then the one that was changed by Obote, the one that was introduced by Amin. So now this one of Museveni, 1995, as amended also in the parliament. Okay, prohibition of dual citizenship. Subject to this article A, Ugandan citizens shall not hold a citizenship of another country concurrently with his or her Uganda citizenship. So if you're a citizen of Uganda, you're not supposed to hold another citizenship of another country. And why is that? Because very many people go to USA, they want to have USA citizenship. So when they come back to Uganda, they are not citizens anymore. According to the Constitution, a citizen of Uganda shall cease forthwith to be a citizen of Uganda if, on attaining the age of 18 years, he or she by voluntary act other than marriage acquires or retains the citizenship of a country other than Uganda. Okay, a person who becomes a citizen of Uganda by registration and upon becoming a citizen of Uganda is also a citizen of another country shall cease to be a citizen of Uganda unless he or she has renounced his or her citizenship of that other country. So just in case you are in USA, you get United States citizenship, you are no longer a citizen of Uganda unless you de-announce that you are not a citizen of the United States anymore. I mean, who will surrender the citizenship of the United States that he's becoming a citizen of Uganda once again? It's quite, Okay. Taken the oath of allegiance specified in the 4th schedule to this constitution, made and registered such declaration of his or her intentions concerning residence as may be prescribed by the law, or obtained an extension of time for taking those steps and the extended period has not expired. Okay. A Uganda citizen who loses his or her citizenship as a result of acquisition or possession of the citizen of another country shall, on the reunification of his or her citizenship of that other country, become a citizen of Uganda. Renunciation of his or her citizenship of that other country. Okay. Where the law of a country other than Uganda requires a person who marries a citizen of that country to renounce the citizenship of his or her own country by virtue of that marriage, a citizen of Uganda who is deprived of his or her citizenship by virtue of that marriage shall, on the dissolution of that marriage, if he or she thereby loses his or her citizen acquired by that marriage, become a citizen of Uganda. Okay, as they say, it is the supreme law, so we have to follow. National Citizenship and Immigration Board, that is chapter 16. 16 of chapter 3. There shall be a National Citizenship and Immigration Board. The board shall consist of a chairperson, not less than 4 other persons, each of whom shall be of high moral character and proven integrity, appointed by the President with the approval of Parliament. Okay. The functions of the board shall be prescribed by Parliament and shall include registering and issuing national identity cards to citizens. In our language, we call it Endagamuntu, national IDs. Issuing Uganda passport and other travel documents. Passport, travel documents. Granting and cancelling citizenship by registration and naturalization. Okay. Granting and cancelling immigration's permit and registering and issuing identity cards to aliens. What? Granting and cancelling immigration permits and registering and issuing identity card to aliens. Aliens? What do they mean here? Okay, me and you. Okay, 4. The functions of the board set out in clause 3A, B and D of this article may be decentralized to the district level. Duties of a citizen, that is chapter 17 of article 3. Okay, it is the duty of every citizen of Uganda. Okay, so here we are going to see the duties of a Ugandan citizen. What are we supposed to do? It is a duty of every citizen of Uganda to respect the national anthem, flag, coat of arms, and currency. Respect the national anthem. When you're singing the national anthem, we should stand at ease. Attention. That is the way of how we should respect. When they are raising the flag, especially the army, they are always saluting the flag. Coats of arms and currency. Nobody should tamper with the currency. And by the way, it's not allowed for someone to tear the currency. You're supposed to be arrested. This is according to the constitution. Nobody should tamper with the currency should respect. That is the duty of us citizens. Okay. To respect the rights and freedom of others. Rights of freedom. Respect each other's rights, To protect children and vulnerable persons against any form of abuse, harassment, or ill treatment. Okay. To protect and preserve public property. Public property. Protect and preserve. Okay. To defend Uganda and to render national service when necessary. If you can't join police, if you can't join army, at least try to do village work. In our language, we call it CD. Like working on roads when they are, village roads. If you find other people on the way, it is mostly led by the chairman of the village. Okay. Duties of a citizen: to pay taxes. Here, Matia Kasaija will explain more. To register for electoral and other lawful purposes. To combat corruption and misuse of wastage of public property. Okay. AJ. To create and protect a clean and healthy environment. That is the duty of us. We should protect our environment and keep it clean. Okay, it is the duty of all able-bodied citizens to undergo military training for the defense of this constitution and protecting of the territorial integrity of Uganda whenever called upon to do so, and the state shall ensure that facilities are available for such training. Oh, really? It is in the Constitution, one of the duties of a citizen. Let me repeat it again. It is the duty of all able-bodied citizens to undergo military training for the defense of this Constitution and the protection of the territorial integrity of Uganda whenever called upon to do so, and the state shall ensure that facilities are available for such training. Wow. Wow. Registration of birth, marriages, and death we are done by the duties of a citizen. As in the Constitution, those are the duties. Respecting each other's freedom, joining army if you are strong, respecting the flags, the currency, helping the vulnerable children, providing national services, protecting public places. All that is our duties. Okay, so 18, registration of birth, marriage, and death. The state shall register every birth, marriage, and death occurring in Uganda. Okay, that is it. Citizenship of a parent dying before the birth of a person. Citizenship of a parent dying before the birth of a person. So if the mom is giving birth and she died, then the citizen of that child, right? Yeah. Okay, let's read it. A reference in the chapter to the citizen of a parent of a person at the time of the birth of that person shall, in relation to a person born after the death of a parent, be construed as a reference to the citizenship of a parent at the time of a parent's death. For the purpose of clause 1 of this article, where the death occurred before the coming into force of this Constitution, the citizenship that the parent would have had if he or she had died on the coming into force of this Constitution shall be taken to be his or her citizenship at the time of his or her death. Okay, but I think this was supposed to be placed behind when we were studying about citizenship. But anyway, so if like a mom of a child dies when he's giving birth in Uganda, the kid shall take the citizenship of the place where the mom died. That's how I've understood it. Hope I'm right. Okay, that was chapter 3. So now we are on chapter 4. Excuse me. Protection and promotion of fundamental and other human rights and freedom. That is chapter 4. So still on chapter 4, protection and promotion of fundamental and other human rights and freedoms. So in general, fundamental and other human rights and freedoms. Fundamental rights and freedoms of the individual are inherent and not granted by the state. The rights and freedoms of the individual and groups enshrined in this chapter shall be respected, upheld, and promoted by all organs and agencies of government and all persons. So here on Article 21, equality and freedom from discrimination. How does it go? All persons are equal before and under the law in all spheres of political, economic, and social and cultural life, and in every other respected, and shall enjoy equal protection of the law. Okay, all persons are equal before and under the law, politically, socially, economically, culturally, Okay. Without prejudice to clause 1 of this article, a person shall not be discriminated against on the ground of sex, race, color, ethnic origin, tribe, birth, creed, or religion, social or economic standing, political opinion, or disability. Nobody shall be disrespected. For the purpose of this article, discriminate means to give different treatment to different persons attributable only or mainly to their respective discriminations by sex, race, color, ethnic origin, tribe, birth, creed. I don't know what creed is. Creed or religion. Okay. Social or economic standing, political opinion, or disabilities. That is what the meaning of discriminate mean. Okay. Nothing in this article shall prevent Parliament from enacting laws that are necessary for A. Implementing policies, programs aimed at redressing socio-economic, education, or other imbalances in the society. Making such provision as in required or authorized to be made under this constitution, or providing for any matter acceptable and demonstrably justified in a free and democratic society. Okay. 5. Article 5. Nothing shall be taken to be inconsistent with this article, which is allowed to be done under any provision of this constitution. So all this was about equality and freedoms from discrimination. Nobody is supposed to be discriminated because we are all equal according to the constitution. But according to the ground, we know what is there. Okay. Protection of right to life. Protection of right to life. No person shall be deprived of life intentionally except in execution of a sentence passed in a fair trial by a court or competent jurisdiction in respect of a criminal offense under the law of Uganda. The conviction and sentence have been confirmed by the highest appellate court. No person has the right to terminate the life of an unborn child except as may be authorized by the law. So this goes to my sisters who terminate their lives as if they made a contract. Even the constitution says it, even the Bible says it, I think so. No person has the right to terminate the life of an unborn child except as may be authorized by the law. How can the law authorize it? Maybe if it is necessary in the hospital. Okay. We have protection of personal liberty. Protection of personal liberty. No person shall be deprived of personal liberty except in any of the following cases. 1. In execution of the sentence or order of court, whether established for Uganda or another country, or of an international court or tribunal in respect of a criminal offense of which that person has been convicted, or of an order of court punishing the person for competent of court. The things of courts are so wide. In execution of the order of court made to secure the fulfillment of any obligation imposed on that person by the law. That is like no person shall be deprived of personality liberty except in any of these cases that I'm giving you. For the purpose of bringing that person before a court, in execution of the order of court upon reasonable suspicion that that person has committed or is about to commit in a criminal offense under the law of Uganda. Okay. Another case, for the purpose of preventing the spread of an infectious or contagious disease. So that is, they're trying to show us how, like, someone's life or someone's liberty should not be taken except this one I'm telling you. In the case of a person who has not attained the age of 18 years for the purpose of the education or welfare of that person. Okay. In the case of a person who is or is reasonably suspected to be of unsound mind or addicted to drugs or alcohol for the purpose of the care or treatment of that person or the protection of the community. Maybe if you take drugs and you get mad, something like that. For the purpose of preventing the unlawful entry of that person into Uganda, or for the purpose of affecting the expulsion, extradition, or other lawful removal of that person from Uganda, or for the purpose of restricting that person while being conveyed through Uganda in the course of the extradition or removal of that person as a convict prisoner from one country to another. If he's a real convict and is dangerous, yeah, you can take his liberty. Okay. H. As may be authorized by the law in other circumstances similar to any of the cases specified in paragraphs A and G and this clause. Okay. A person arrested, restricted, or detained shall be kept in a place authorized by the law. That is obvious. Not in basements, but a place authorized by the law. A person arrested, restricted, or detained shall be informed immediately in a language that the person understands of the reasons for arrest, restriction, or detention, and of his or her rights to a lawyer of his or her choice. Wow. So which means we have a working constitution, but we don't follow it. Let me repeat this because it's amazing. A person arrested, restricted, or detained shall be informed immediately in a language that the person understands of the reason for the arrest, restriction, or detention, and of his or her right to a lawyer of his or her choice. So if you are taken, you have to be told what you are being taken for. But nowadays, people are grabbed, taken in drones, tied, beaten, stepped on the head, taken to basements. You don't know why they are taking you. Your family is not being told. So all this is contradicting the constitution of Uganda. Wow, this is amazing. Okay, a person arrested or detained for the purpose of bringing him to her before a court in execution of an order of a court, or upon reasonable suspicion of his or her having committed or being about to commit a crime, a criminal offense under the laws of Uganda, shall, if not earlier released, be brought to court as soon as possible, but in any case not later than 48 hours from the time of his or her arrest. This one, 7 always speaks about it. If you arrest a person within 48 hours, you're supposed to take them to court or release them on bail or police bond. They should come from outside. That's not my words, that's the words from the Constitution of Uganda. Wow. But our Uganda now, 2025, my brother, I'm telling you. Okay, 5. Where a person is restricted or detained. Okay. The next of kin of that person shall, at the request of that person, be informed as soon as practicable of the restriction or detention. Shall be informed as soon as possible. The next of kin, lawyer, and the person doctor of that person shall be allowed reasonable access to that person. Next of kin, lawyer, and doctor, person doctor shall be allowed. That person shall be allowed to access medical treatment, including at the request and at the cost of that person, access to private medical treatment. Even if you say, I want to go to my private doctor, you are allowed according to the Constitution. Okay, where a person is arrested in respect of a criminal offense. The person is entitled to apply to the court to be released on bail, and the court may grant that person bail on such a condition as the court considers reasonable. In the case of an offense which is triable by high courts as well as by a subordinate court, the person shall be released on bail on such conditions as the court considers reasonable if that person has been remanded in custody in respect of the offense before trial for 120 days. Okay. In case of an offense triable, in case of an offense triable only by the High Court, the person shall be released on bail on such conditions as the court considers reasonable if the person has been remanded in custody. Remanded in custody for 360 days before the case is committed to the High Court. 360 days. 360 days, that's a year, right? Okay. A person unlawfully arrested, restricted, or detained by any other person or authority shall be entitled to compensation from that other person or authority, whether it is the state or an agency of the state or other person or authority. Wow. Whether a person is convicted and sentenced to a term or imprisonment for an offense, any period he or she spends in lawful custody is respected of the offense before the completion of his or her trial shall be taken into account in imposing the term of imprisonment. So that time should be counted, right? Yeah. The right to an order of habeas corpus. The right to an order of habeas corpus shall be involved and shall not be suspended. Habeas corpus, I don't know what that means. The right to an order of habeas corpus shall be inviolable and shall not be suspended. Councils who are listening, please tell us what is habeas corpus. Please tell us in comment section. Okay, 24. Respect for human dignity and protection from inhuman treatment. Respect for human dignity and protection for inhuman treatment. No person shall be subjected to any form of torture or cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. Wow. According to the Constitution 1995, no person shall be subjected to any form of torture or cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. But nowadays, 2025, as I'm speaking, someone was arrested, detained without notice. Then someone posted that they have him in the basement being tortured. He was brought to court very sick. As the Constitution says, if you are arrested, you should be notified, like next of kin, lawyer, or doctor. put 8 hours, you're supposed to be taken to court. But here in Uganda is very different. You're arrested, you're kidnapped, you're tortured, no seeing anyone, none of your family members, no doctor, no next of kin, tortured. But here the constitution said no person shall be subjected to any form of torture or cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment. Okay, 25. Protection from slavery, servitude, and forced labor. Okay. No person shall be held in slavery or servitude. Good. No person shall be required to perform forced labor. I don't know if maids nowadays are forced into labor, but I don't think so. Okay. For the purpose of this article, forced labor does not include, okay, let's see what forced labor does include. Any labor required in consequences of the sentence or order of court. That's not forced labor for like those prisoners. Okay. Any labor required of any person while that person is lawfully detained, which thought not required in consequences of the sentence or order of court, is reasonably necessary in the interests of hygiene or for the maintenance of the place at which that person is detained. Yeah, I think this goes to prisoners. Any labor required of a member of a disciplined force as part of the member's duties, such or in the case of a person who has conscientiously objections to service as a member of a naval, military, or air force. Any labor which that person is required by law to perform in place of that service. So for the military, if they tell you to do something, that's not forced labor. That is required by the law. Okay. Any labor required during any period when Uganda is at war or in case of any emergency or calamity which threatens the life and well-being of the community to the extent that the requiring of the labor is reasonable justification and circumstances of any situation arising or existing during the period or any result of the emergency or calamity for the person of dealing which the situation. That one is understandable. Any labor reasonably required as part of reasonable and normal communal or other civic obligations. Community work, that's not labor, so that's not slavery, that's not forced labor. Communal work. Okay, 26. Protection from deprivation of property. Deprivation of property. Every person has a right to own property, either individually or in association with others. Oh, okay. Every person has a right to own property. No person shall be compulsorily deprived of property or any interest in or right over property of any depreciation except where the following conditions are certified. The taking of possession or acquisition is necessary for public use or in interest of defense, public safety, public order, public morality, or public health, and the compulsory taking of possession or acquisition of property is made under a law which makes provision for prompt payment of fair and adequate compensation prior to the taking of possession or acquisition of the property, and 2, a right of access to a court of law by any person who has an interest or right of the property. Right to privacy of a person, home, and other property. Right to privacy. I think that's where trespassing comes, right? No person shall be subjected to unlawful search of the person, home, or other property of that person unless you have warrant, court warrant, right? No one should come, oh, let's check your house. No, why are you checking? Do you have warrant? No. Constitution says no one unlawful search of the person, home, or property of that person. No person shall be. Okay. No person shall be subjected to unlawful entry of others. Unlawful entry by others of the premises of that person. Entering, not allowed. And 2, no person shall be subjected to interference with the privacy of that person's home, correspondence, communication, or other property. Not allowed. Okay. Right to a fair hearing. Right to a fair hearing. So I think this is quite interesting. This is something that is currently happening. So we shall begin from here tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned, subscribe, like, share, comment, tell me where to improve, how to do it. Let's guide each other, okay? In the comment section you can tell me what to do. Thank you so much. Tomorrow we shall begin from right to a fair hearing. Right to a fair hearing. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Have a nice day. Thank you for watching.